Today's debate in Frankfort focused on school restrooms, including discipline issues and a new design featuring individual stalls with shared sink areas.
WKYT's Phil Pendleton explains how this design is already being implemented at a middle school here in Lexington.
Open concept.
Representative Matt Lockett says parents came to him concerned about the restroom design at the new Mary Britton Middle School, which have open sinks and mirrors and enclosed individual stalls.
Yes, there are separate stalls, but each stall is gender neutral. Each stall can be seen from the hallway.
Lockett says parents are concerned about girls using stalls that a boy just walked out of.
She comes home to tell you as her parent all about this experience. She tells you that she's scared, she's embarrassed, and doesn't want to use the restroom at school.
But Fayette County's superintendent says the restrooms are not gender neutral.
The principal has determined that there will be a set of restrooms that are for boys. There's a set of restrooms that are for girls.
Superintendent Demetris Liggins says in Lexington the biggest concern 10 years ago in schools was about guns. Now, he says, it's about what takes place in restrooms. Recently, there's been concerns of everything from vaping to violence in restrooms, with some students not wanting to use them, and teachers also have their concerns.
Are concerned about being assigned to a restroom to supervise inside of a restroom where one wrong accusation could ruin your career.
Lockett says language is being proposed to require all public schools with more than 100 students to designate 90% of their restrooms either for boys or for girls, allowing 10% for all access restrooms. In Frankfort, Phil Pendleton, WKYT.
The new Mary E. Britton Middle School in Lexington is set to open in the fall of next year.